Okay. So my very first battle I'm facing, I am Ozzy. And I decided to run Piloswine, Alolan Ninetales, Ursaring, Vaporeon, Excadrill, and regular Raichu. And I do have a shiny party hat. I had to put it there, I don't know. Like, I almost forgot it was, it was so funny, like I literally was doing work with this Pokemon in this tournament, and it's just so funny that it's just like a shiny party hat. I don't know, like, it just made me smile when I see it like wrecking and it just has that party hat that I kinda in a way hate. But anyways, so my opponent, I decided to lead Ursaring here because my main concern is, okay, I was like, Marowak is pretty much the only thing, but if it's running Hex, then it's not really the biggest deal. So they lead Suicune, and they are actually running Ice Fang Suicune. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go for a close combat here and switch on out into Vaporeon to take the Bubble Beam, which was pretty clear to me is what they were gonna do here. So they switch into the Rhyperior. I don't understand why they did this. I genuinely don't understand why they just did this, but I'm like, you know, I'll take it. I'll totally just shield, even if it's Surf and water you down. So Rhyperior goes down rather fast to the water gun damage, and he brings in Suicune. I decided to just go for Aqua Tail, and they do end up shielding. I get up another Aqua Tail. Here, I'll put a link in the chat to it, so you guys can see it. It's a Ferocious, so they brought Ferocious Cut back, so this is one I did for fun on Gym. What was the host? It was Gym, I think it was GYM.LEADERS.ARENA. Yes. I've done a tournament on their Discord before. So yeah, we win that first battle, fortunately, and I'm thinking, okay, so they saw I led Ursaring. Ursaring's pretty good, I feel like, in Ferocious. Definitely out of the counter uses, kind of interesting pick. I decided to lead Vaporeon, thinking he might try to lead his Marowak into my Ursaring. Yeah, really interesting battle. So, I mean, we didn't catch the Marowak, but we did catch Arcanine, which is still pretty good. I mean, it has Wild Charge, but we don't really have to worry about it. We just have to shield it. So I'm gonna switch into my Raichu on their Raikou, and I decide, you know what, I'm not gonna shield here. They do actually go for the Wild Charge and not Shadow Ball, which is pretty nice. And I'm just gonna go for a Brick Break. They end up shielding, and I have 2 shields, so of course I'm gonna commit a shield here, and I'm just gonna Brick Break. I think I could have maybe potentially farmed down there, but I don't know if it was really worth it. Alright, so I think I just go for the Wild Charge on Arcanine. I just barely live. Man, we're having a party here with this Raichu. Okay, they bring in Suicune, and I think I just bring in... Okay, I do bring in Vaporeon to go for the last resort. I think I'm just gonna let Vaporeon die here. Or I'm gonna take the Bubble Beam, sorry, and switch out into Ursaring and just kinda like counter down. Yeah, it's game. Man, Ursaring definitely like posed a lot of problem for my opponents, I noticed. Alright, so I guess I was thinking lead Raichu. Like, the only thing that would be bad for Raichu would be the Rhyperior. And I don't think he's bringing Rhyperior again. Like, I just have a feeling he's not going to bring it. So, it really comes down to... I mean, the way I was looking at it was like, even if I led Raichu and I just sacked Raichu, like didn't shield, I just tried to do damage, and I retained switch advantage by just sacking it, I would still be in a really good position because his team can't really deal with the Ursaring Vaporeon combo that well. So he does end up leading the Marowak this time. Mencynic, welcome to the stream. So we go for a wild charge right away here on Marowak, and we do end up getting a shield. I think I'm like very curious how much it does. So I don't shield, and I just switch straight out to Vaporeon here. For whatever reason, they stay in, and I'm just going for the Aqua Tail, and they do shield. And I'm thinking, man, I don't need to shield this. And I was right, because they were trying to go for the bait move. So now I have 2 shields, and they have no shields. And they switch Weavile into my Vaporeon. Yeah, I know if I just shield, I'm in a really good position here. So we take down Weavile. We know they have Marowak. They bring in the Marowak. Yeah. I just knock it out. And then they bring in Arcanine. And it's, there's like a little bit of lag here, obviously. But I don't think it mattered. I'm pretty sure the game was over at that point. Well played, good game. Alright, so that was our first opponent. Let me bring up my second opponent's team here. Alright. Okay, so my second opponent he's running the Houndoom and Ferret. I decided to lead Ursaring because it seems like a pretty good threat to his team, and he leads a lone Raichu. I'm hoping to catch an electric move here. Baruch, Ibaka, welcome to stream. And I do end up switching right on a Thunder Punch, which is really nice for me. He brings in Ferret, and I know Ferret has Brick Break, but I'm not too threatened by it, and I do have an energy lead, so I'm just going to launch that Avalanche. I think I don't shield, and I just keep going for another Avalanche here. We get the last shield, and I think I do decide. I think I just let it go. Actually, my thought process was I could just bring Ursaring in and actually just farm down for it. Like I'm gonna actually shield here. I'm gonna farm down, and then he's gonna bring in Raichu, and I'm gonna beam it. So I get a Hyper Beam off. It just melts a lone Raichu. He brings an Aggron, and I get off a close combat, and that's game. It's actually it's a Pilot Swan. All right, GG's, dude. The Ursaring, I'm telling you, like, was like totally. I don't think anyone was expecting to see an Ursaring. Okay, so yeah, just based on that, I guess I wanted to lead Piloswine thinking he would not switch his lead. And fortunately for me, I was correct. And this is nice because I'm going to go for the Avalanche on his Alolan Raichu. We get a shield. I'm going to shield the Grass Knot. I feel like I didn't necessarily need to, but I was kind of like, I'm getting my moves off before him, so we're going to win this. Alright, so I shield again. They end up switching here to Ferret, and was this the right play to use Avalanche? I mean, I live a Brick Break, technically. Yeah, I guess that was the right play to just launch my Avalanches and knock out the Ferret. So it comes in Lone Raichu, and I'm just gonna let it go down at this point. Because I brought Excadrill this time, and I know I can just farm down with Mud Shot. Like, look at those Mud Shots, they're just shooting up in the air and stuff. It's so weird how it does that. Like, it'll just shoot straight up in the air sometimes. Like, whenever I use Excadrill, watch. You'll just see random mud shooting straight up in the air instead of, like, down at the opponent. It's so strange. Anyways, yeah, Excadrill, kind of a spicy pick, but I feel like definitely has a lot of value. Like, even my opponent's team is, like, 4 of his Pokemon are weak to Excadrill. You know what I mean? Like, Houndoom, Lone Raichu, Raikou, and Aggron are all extremely weak to Excadrill. Even, oh wait, also the Ninetales is weak. Oh my gosh, literally 5 of their Pokemon can't deal with Excadrill. I think that's why I decided to lead at this time. I was like, oh yeah, they have to pretty much lead for it, or they're screwed. And they probably won't lead for it. And then I just switch in Ursaring on for it. And it's like, once the Furret's gone, it's like, Excadrill can just farm down the whole team. It's insane. It's pretty insane, actually. Yeah, so I give up my shields, but it doesn't really matter. Like, my thought process was, you know what, I should have just went for the double close combat here. But that just shows you how, like, I was being a little confident here. Because I was like, okay, I have Excadrill and Piloswine. I think I actually switch out here to Piloswine to take the Grass Knot. Because I was thinking, if he does have Houndoom or Aggron in the back, it's better to have Excadrill for sure. So fortunately for me, we do that, and he has Raikou in the back. So that's just game. I don't know why he kept bringing, like, all the electric types. But, yeah, that's game. So, GG's for my opponent. Okay, let me bring up my third opponent's team. So this next opponent, I fought him before, is ZeTurdBurglar. These are some pretty interesting battles. This is where I kind of slipped up a little bit in the tournament. Because as you can see, I'm making some pretty... I haven't lost one battle yet. Alright. Oh, yeah. Okay, so ZeTurdBurglar actually brought Berserker. I thought a lot of people were going to bring Berserker. Because, you know, it's like the new one. But the thing is, Ursaring actually... Like, think of Berserker versus Ursaring. Shadow Claw versus Ursaring is resisted. Counter versus Berserker is super effective. And they both have close combat. Okay, so I actually knew he was going to lead the Alolan Ninetales. By the way, this is like the only Pokemon competitive format where you're allowed to run 2 of the same species. Like, why are you allowed to run 2 Ninetales? Like, that's so dumb. So... Yeah, I just let Excadrill die. I shouldn't have fed it the energy there. I should have maybe considered switching out. Hey, Northern Lights, welcome to the stream, bud. I decided to just take the Surf. I kind of make a misplay here, because I'm like pretty much making all the right plays. And, dude, that actually kind of cost me the match. Like, not being able to switch out there on the Ninetales, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, that was actually kind of rough. I should have shielded the Surf. I definitely should have shielded the one Surf on Bibarel, the first one. If I would have shielded that first one, I would have been in a much better position. Because now I'm just dead. Like, there's nothing I can do to win this battle. You know what I mean? Like, look how close this is. Like, if I would have been able to just shield that first Surf, I would have been able to take out Bibarel, because he would have had to stay in. And it would have been a much better scenario. Like, I kind of let that battle slip. It was really well played by my opponent. But, yeah, I kind of let that slip through the cracks, that first battle. Because I made the right prediction on the lead. I knew he was going to try to lead the Charmer. You know what I mean? But, yeah, really well played, for sure. Definitely, like... His team is so... Like... Honestly, I should have been able... Damn, I should have been able to secure that. Because it's like... I got a little confident. You know what I mean? Taking that Surf and such like that. I didn't realize I needed to have the Raichu for my win condition. Okay, so this time I actually lead Raichu into Ninetales. Not the best situation for me. I should have probably been more patient. I decided to just let it die, and I switch into Vaporeon here. And I think he makes a nice switch to Barrel on my Aqua Tail. Or, okay, I just farm down. What does he bring in, though? Okay, he does bring in his Alolan Ninetales. And I do go for an Aqua Tail. It's kind of rough, though, because I probably should have stayed in. But I didn't really know this matchup, to be honest. I shouldn't have used my energy. This was dumb. Using my energy was really dumb here. I completely, like, just fucked this battle up. A lot of things about this was done bad. I should have stayed in with Vaporeon. Because if I didn't switch out at all, I had 2 shields and he had Barrel in the back line. That would have been game. Like, if I would have stayed in, just did as much water gun damage as possible, and then brought in Ursaring once Vaporeon died, pretty sure I would have won that game. But yeah, this is all like, you know, we're all just doing this tournament for fun, and we're all figuring it out as we go along. But I was definitely determined to win this last battle, even though I lost those 2, because I was like, I feel like I shouldn't have lost either of these personally, but you know, in hindsight, it's easy to see it better. I mean, if I would have known the Ursaring matchup to Alolan Ninetales a little bit better, I guess in my head I was thinking, I'm a normal type, so Charm won't hurt as much, and I can do counter, even though it's not super effective on it. It's still hitting it rather decent, but I mean, it's Ursaring at the end of the day. So that was a good realization. So it made me realize, okay, so my team's good, but I'm just not playing it right here. And I do end up making the right call in this last game. I line up the Alolan Ninetales with Excadrill again. And I'm like, determined not to lose this time now that I've got the lead. So I decided to just let it go down. And I got the shield advantage. I'm going to just eat a Psyshock here. I'm going to farm down. I'm thinking, alright, as long as we got rid of that Alolan Ninetales, we should be good. So I switch in my Raichu on their Raichu. I'm like, yo, my Raichu's got a hat. Watch out. And I'm thinking, I have the shield advantage. I might as well take advantage of it. I don't want to fall into the category of that very first battle, where I was being very brazen about taking the moves and then switched into a fast attack that killed me. And I couldn't switch out in time. So fortunately, I'm making some really good calls here. He switches the barrel, and yeah, I just go for the Brick Break because still, again, very solid play here. So I just switch out Raichu, save it. I'm gonna keep in. I'm gonna sack Vaporeon just so the Hyper Fang doesn't kill my Raichu. I know I'm gonna kill his Raichu upon it switching in because it's just dead to Volt Switch. So I end up taking this last battle, and I'm like, alright, feel better that I took that last battle. But honestly, like, dude, I really feel like I could have definitely secured this match if I just shielded a little bit differently in those battles. I mean, my team definitely had a little more of an edge on his. Okay, so let's bring up my last opponent's team here. They're running Lanoon. Really good games though, for real. Like, he's a really good battler. You know what I mean? Like, if it was anyone else, it probably, even if I made those mistakes, I probably would still won. But he's just like a really good battler. He took advantage of any moment he could to get that momentum back. But my next opponent, I'm looking at their team, and I'm also seeing a similar scenario with all my other opponents. They don't like Excadrill, and they don't like Ursaring. The shirt is from a musician. His name's Jeff Rosenstock. Okay, so I'm leading my Raichu because I'm thinking this is a pretty solid lead. He ends up leading his own Raichu. So we got the lone Raichu versus the Party Hat Shiny, and I'm just going for the wild charges here. I guess the way I'm looking at it is like, I'm just gonna sack it now. Now that I have one shield advantage, I'm gonna bring in Excadrill, farm down, just melt his Raichu. He brings in his Marowak, and I can get the Drill Run off. so that's game for Marowak. And then he brings in Lanoon, and I have Ursaring, so that's game for Lanoon. I get off a close combat, that's game. So we take round 1. Pretty solid. Yeah, like, everyone who I faced seriously was weak to the Ursaring Excadrill core. I think the ZeTurdBurglar definitely played the best against my team, but I definitely think I was making the right calls. I just kind of wasn't used to playing in this cup. Like, this is my first, like, I didn't do any thinking before. Like, I sat down before the tournament and I built a team. I built 2 teams and I picked this one. I was gonna run double fighter, but I decided to just run the pseudo fighter is Ursaring. So he ends up leading Marowak, and I'm like, I could take a Bone Club. So I'm just gonna take the Bone Club. I store 2 wild charges here, and I decide to launch them both back to back. So I'm gonna, unfortunately, he does get a Bone Club off there. I'm gonna just end up shielding because I feel it's better to just get his shield here. And they end up switching to Raichu. Probably not the best play on their end because I have switch advantage and I just switch in Excadrill to melt it. They bring in Babero. I have switch advantage, like I said, and I can just switch to Ursaring. A little bit of lag there. I don't know how much it mattered, so I'm just gonna eat that. And I'm like, you know what? Farm down. I go for the farm down. And this is where my opponent kind of makes a little bit of a mistake. They're scared. They don't know what to do. I double close combat their alone Marowak. So they end up shielding a close combat. But to be fair, they probably had to. They probably would have died otherwise, realistically. Like, even to close combat damage, 2 close combats and my mud shot from Excadrill probably would have killed it. So very nice. So we've already pretty much secured this battle. But we're going to do our, this round. But we're going to jump into our last battle here. So yeah, like, other than ZeTurdBurglar, I pretty much... Hold on, we'll let it play out here. Okay, so we got Excadrill against Lanoon. I wanted to switch out here, but I didn't do it in time. So I guess I decided I'm just going to take the Grass Knot. And then just switch out right after that. I do a safe swap to Raichu, and I go for the Brick Break. Alright. They do shield. And, okay, there is the Alolan Marowak. I'm gonna just launch my Wild Charge. We get a shield. I'm gonna shield here and just go for another Wild Charge, because I know it will knock out. So we knock out the Alolan Marowak. Or it just barely knocks it out. So they switch in Lanoon. We bring back in... Well, we're going to bring in Ursaring for the first time. We farm down Lanoon. And then we just close combat for Barrel. And that is game, ladies and gentlemen. So we end up going 3-1 in this tournament. Really well played by my opponents. Let me bring up the tournament here. So it was actually, it ended up being a 5-way tie between R6 Racing, Grumwitch, ZeTurdBurglar, me, and Aeonic. I'm not sure how to say their name. Aeonic 1914. Very GG's, everyone.